evening. General Bipin Rawat and his wife Madhulika Rawat were cremated with full honours at Delhi's Brar Square crematorium on Friday evening. They were cremated together at Brar Square, the general getting full military honours. The cremation was performed by their daughters Kritika and Tarini. The bodies of General Rawat, India's first Chief of Defence Staff, and his wife were laid side by side on the funeral pyre. Hours earlier at the same crematorium, the General's top aide, Brigadier L.S. Lidder, was also cremated. All 3 and 10 others had died in a horrific helicopter crash in Tamil Nadu on Wednesday. As the flames rose, the 17-gun salute was accorded to General Rawat. The elaborate funeral ceremony involved hundreds of military personnel in line with established protocol. As the flames rose, that 17-gun salute was accorded to General Rawat. It was a very poignant ceremony, attended not just by our military and political leaders, but also military and political leaders from across South Asia.
As the nation bid farewell to its Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, and his wife, Mrs. Madhulika Rawat. The couple died in an Air Force helicopter crash in Tamil Nadu on Wednesday. The Defence Minister and many military officials, past and present, as well as other dignitaries, paid their tributes. Senior military commanders from neighbouring friendly countries arrived to attend the funeral. As he was chief of all 3 services, soldiers from the Army, Navy and the Air Force were part of the funeral procession. 6 officers, 2 each from each service, of the rank of Lieutenant General or equivalent, were the pallbearers. Earlier, a particularly poignant moment as the Rawat's grandchild, in his mother's arms, offered flowers. Political leaders across the spectrum paid tributes before the funeral procession left for Brar Square crematorium in the Delhi cantonment. Some crowds ran alongside. Many people lined parts of the road. Some threw flowers, waved flags and shouted slogans. The Rawat's daughters, Kritika and Tarini, performed the final rites. And from the military, the general's larger family for generations, a 17-gun salute.
Well, such a sad day for the Indian Armed Forces, the cremation of the top military leader in this country. But among those cremated today was Brigadier Lidder. He was cleared for the rank of Major General. He was going to take over command of a particular division. He was seen to be a real go-getter in the Indian Armed Forces. He was the key aide of the Chief of General Staff. He was cremated in that same area, Brar Square, early this morning at 9 a.m.
Heart-wrenching scenes at the funeral of Brigadier Lidder, General Bipin Rawat's top aide. His daughter Ashna fighting back tears as his wife Geetika knelt by her husband's coffin and kissed it. A family displaying amazing bravery and composure on what was perhaps the worst day of their lives.
He was larger than life, everybody knows that. मतलब आप देख ही रहे हैं कितने लोग फेयरवेल में आए. बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छा persona था उनका, बहुत दोस्त थे. But we must give him a good farewell, a smiling send-off. I'm a soldier's wife. He's a very good father, very good father. My child will really miss him. So it's a big loss.
His daughter, just short of 17, remembered a father who was her whole life.
I'm going to be 17. तो 17 years वो जो हमारे साथ थे, जितनी यादें उनको साथ लेके ही चल रहे हैं. It's a national loss. My father, मेरे पापा हीरो थे, मेरे बेस्ट फ्रेंड थे. Maybe it's destined and better things will come our way.
Brigadier Lider's NDA batchmate and former Union Minister Rajavardhan Rathore recalled a friend from when they were both just 16.
राष्ट्रीय रक्षा अकादमी में जब हम 16 साल की उम्र में गए थे, तब से लेकर अभी तक हम सबसे ब्राइटेस्ट फौजी ऑफिसर और भारत की सेना में मेजर जनरल की रैंक उनको मिल चुकी थी और उनका पूरा करियर आगे था.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, NSA Ajit Doval and Haryana Chief Minister ML Khattar also paid their respects to Brigadier Lider, who was in line to be Major General. The Chiefs of Staff of the Army, Navy and Air Force also paid tribute, marching in a solemn sequence to lay a wreath at his feet. Bureau Report, NDTV.
Well, we've got a panel this evening of some of the foremost military specialists, army veterans in the country, those who have worked very closely with General Bipin Rawat in the past, along also with a few of the others who have very sadly lost their lives. We have this evening General J.J. Singh, the former Army Chief, Lieutenant General Subroto Saha, a course mate of General Rawat. He's the former Deputy Chief of the Army. We've got Major General Rajiv Narayanan, a course mate of General Rawat as well. We've got Lieutenant General Vishambar Singh. He did a staff course with General Bipin Rawat. We've got Air Marshal P.K. Barbora, the former Vice Chief of Air Staff. It is a fantastic panel, as I mentioned. Commodore Venugopal, a batchmate and classmate of General Rawat at the NDA. And we've also got Colonel Ashwini Sharma, the editor, South Asia Defence and Strategic Review, who knew Brigadier Lider very well. But let me come to you, General J.J. Singh, first. This is an incredibly sad moment for the armed forces. How important is it, General Singh, for India to get a new Chief of Defence Staff, because that post is absolutely critical in terms of continuity?
Thank you, Vishnu. It's a very good question. I personally believe that for a country of our size and stature and a nuclear power, an emerging world power, we have to have the CDS in place as soon as possible. But in the interim period, we should have someone who should be officiating on a temporary basis, and I believe that that person may have been already told that you will be the officiating, or you will be responsible for the mandate which General Rawat so wonderfully carried out.
Yeah. Sir,
the government will go through a selection process, Vishnu.
Yes.
And they will soon come to a decision as to who should be the successor. And as I believe, this should be something done on merit and experience and the ability to forge ahead on the path of the modernization of the armed forces and synergization of their power, so that they become an iron fist which will destroy the enemy.
General Singh, another quick question. In as much as we are speaking this evening about General Bipin Rawat, let's also think about the families of those whose relatives have died but their mortal remains have not been identified. How difficult it must be for those families. Sir, your thoughts?
Absolutely, Vishnu, you are right. I think it would be in the right perspective to be able to decide who is an individual who has been charged beyond recognition. So this will also be done as fast as possible because the DNA testing has to be done and other forensic evidence has to be taken, based on which they will be able to decide. But I'm sure it will be given the utmost priority.
Right, right. I'm sure it would. Let me go across to General Subroto Saha. General Saha, your course mate of General Rawat. When did you first meet him?
Well, met him first in January of 1975. You know,
and this was at the NDA, was it?
It was at the National Defence Academy, somewhere between 16, 17 years of age we were.
Were you in the same squadron as him at the NDA or different squadrons?
No, General Rawat was in Charlie's squadron, I was in India's squadron. By comparative terms, my squadron was supposed to be a little more decent than Charlie. Those who are ex-NDA will understand this terminology. And by that what I mean is the seniors conducted themselves much more toughly in the Charlie squadron than they would do in India's squadron. So by NDA language, it was supposed to be a more decent squadron. But that said, we would be meeting on and off in the academic blocks, which you're aware are Sudan, and the science block, and several other workshops, co-curricular activities, physical activities, riding, etc., which are there in India. It was a very, very close bond that we enjoyed for almost 44 years, you know.
Yeah.
Very strong friendship. We were posted at the same places several times. IMA, we were together as platoon commanders. As colonels, we were both in the MS branch. As brigadiers, we were both in Kashmir, same time. Then he went on to Congo, came and, would you imagine, replaced Deputy MSB as Major Generals after commanding divisions. He was MGGS Eastern Command, looking after operations. I was Additional DG MO in Delhi. On a daily basis, at least 3 to 4 phone calls, because you know how important and busy Eastern Command is for operations, and always struggling to get more vis-a-vis Northern Command. So it was quite, and you know how General Bipin Rawat, how committed he is, you know, and how convinced it is when he takes up anything. And he was such a rock solid support to General Dalbir Singh Sohag, who was the Eastern Army commander. And then from there, he went on to Dimapur to command 3. I went to Kashmir to command 15 Corps. We again met. I was deputy chief. He came in as vice chief. And then, of course, he took over as the chief. As luck would have it, after retirement, I joined as a member of the NSAB. He moved up as CDS. It's been a very close relationship.
I'll talk to you about that last bit in a little while. Because, you know, the decision making which he was a part of and which you are a part of, absolutely key. You know, and the role is important of Chief of Defence Staff. I'll come to you in a second, General Saha. General Narayanan, would you like to share something about your equation with the man that we don't know about? Did you ever, for example, have very strong disagreements?
Oh, well, thanks for having me on the show, Vishnu. Same, I was India, he was Charlie. Me and Subroto go back a long way together, India Squadron. We were together there. Though I joined the Armored Corps, he went to the infantry. So we were not posted in the same place, but we kept track of each other, kept meeting at various places. He had his firm views and opinion. I had my views and opinion. We used to discuss and arrive at a middle ground that, okay, this is what we need to do. I have met him a number of times when I was in the Northeast as the deputy and the GOC of the division, talking with him. Then I came in MO. That was my last assignment as ADG MOB. He was, like Saha has mentioned, he was there as MGGS. A lot of chit chat we used to have. But one thing came out about him. He never lost his smile. You met him at any time, you always saw his smiling face. He could have been under tremendous pressure, but the smile never went out. And that is what I always remember about him very fondly, that you could have any number of professional discussions with him. But at the end of the day, you put your arm around each other, and it was the smile and the happiness and the joy that he gave to you as a personal friend that we are friends and we can carry on. That is what I will always carry with me right to my grave.
General Vishambar Singh, you did a staff course with General Rawat. Did you become close to him? Were you friends with him? Would you use that word? What was it like to sort of work with him, be a part of that course with him?
Vishnu, thank you for having me on the panel, and alongside with General Subroto Saha, General J.J. Singh and General Rajiv Narayan, who are dear friends of mine. General Bipin Rawat and I did the staff course at Wellington for 1 year. I was in a different division and he was in a different division, so we not used to interact on daily basis since our classes were in different blocks. But centralized lectures we used to attend together. And we were young majors then. And then he moved up the ladder and I also moved alongside. But actually I came to know the real man when I was the Director General Weapons and Equipment. And he took over as the Vice Chief on 1st September 2016. And that is the time actually Subroto Saha was my Deputy Chief PNS and I was DGWE, and you know DGWE job is very complex job, and then we have to make a lot of priorities. And I was doing all the contacts on his behalf as Vice Chief. Vice Chief has powers laid down by the Government of India to procure the equipment, and I was handling all the contacts on his behalf. Now, the man, General Rawat, had the priorities clearly laid down, because he had full idea of the threat perception, because we have to procure and modernize armed forces as per the our priorities and threat perception. He had full idea. Whenever we went and discussed with him, he clearly understood very quickly and gave clear direction to us. Let's modernize this arm, let's focus. Though many times a lot of demands came from the line directorates like CRT Directorate or ENC's branch or other directorates, the army, to push their cases. But he was very clear in his mind that these are the priorities, national priorities, these are the priorities along the northern borders or on the western front, and these are the priorities we should actually push first, because budget was always finite and we have to actually work within that budget. That budget. So that was the man. And then after the day's work is done, and then he was a different man together. Socially, we then became friends, because you discuss complex issues, and then he attended my daughter's marriage very late in the night. He was committed somewhere, and then he still found time, and he said, "You don't go, I will be attending your daughter's marriage." And later on, he only posted me to the MNG area, where his father commanded in Maharashtra, Gujarat and Goa area, and he himself commanded the Gujarat and Goa area. And I was fortunate actually to command this area, same area, before retirement. So General Bipin Rawat,
lots of memories there, and I'll try and come back to you, but I want to go across to Air Marshal P.K. Barbora. Air Marshal, before I ask you anything about General Rawat, I think it's important that we talk about a young officer of the Indian Air Force who is now fighting for his life. He is in critical condition at the command hospital in Bengaluru, and he's the only survivor of this helicopter crash. Your thoughts on, on the need for us, the hope that I'm sure we all share to ensure or to pray for that group captain Varun Singh to survive. Could you, your thoughts on this?
It's very clear, Vishnu. When we joined the service, we all knew that we will be exposed to dangers, whether facing a bullet, or facing some anti-aircraft fire, whatever it might be. And we took it willingly. In my 40 years plus of service, and I have flown for 40 years plus, I can tell you one thing: we have gone through situations, I personally have gone through situations where I recollected my whole life in 30 seconds for that matter. But I was fortunate to get away and be able to sit today along this elite group of people that you have called for this TV channel this evening. I promise you one thing. He obviously was a phenomenal officer also, was just given a gallantry award, Shaurya Chakra. And he was doing his duty, and in the line of duty, along with him, all the 13 others martyred in the line of duty. We in the Air Force, like in the Army and the Navy, we lose a lot of people from time to time. But that is destiny. This is one thing which people don't seem to understand very much. What is destiny? Destiny is, there's a saying in India, Janam, Vivah or Mrityu tumhare haath mein nahi hai. It's in the hands of God. And it's happened. I wish him all the very best and hope he recovers to add to the Court of Inquiry findings.
Right.
It's important that if we have someone who survives this, first and foremost, it's a miracle that he is alive.
Yes.
And I'm sure our people are looking after him and he'll be able to add to the inquiry.
Let's talk a little bit more.
My condolences go out to the complete lot of people who are martyrs.
Air Marshal, as a pilot yourself, and for the benefit of our viewers, he won a Shaurya Chakra for handling a Tejas in a critical situation. There was a depressurization problem, and I believe after that there was a subsequent problem. He chose to stay with the aircraft. He could have ejected. He saved the aircraft, and by saving the aircraft, the problem became apparent and it could be fixed. Could you explain to our viewers why this was a difficult choice and how difficult those moments would have been for him?
It's very simple, Vishnu. We all, throughout our flying career, have faced some emergency or the other where the time factor, the type of emergency, etc. had to be handled. And as a professional, believe you me, in the Air Force, we have had some mishaps. There's no doubt of a late decision making. But he took a decision that he will take control. He had a pressurization failure. It's happened earlier on other aircraft also. But the fact is that decision of his has given us a lot of input in respect of the defect that was noticed during that flight. I salute him. He's done his job very well. He's been rewarded very well, and I only wish him speedy recovery and God bless. God bless him and his family.
Commodore Venugopal, you've also batchmate and classmate in the NDA of General Bipin Rawat. But I actually wanted to ask you something else before we talk about General Rawat and your equation. There are families out there whose loved ones have not been identified. There's a DNA testing which is going on. The bodies are in a bad condition because of the fire. They cannot be identified. For people outside the services, it's almost incomprehensible, and for the families, I'm sure it is extremely incomprehensible. But in the way that all of you gentlemen have been trained, this is something in war that happens. There are bodies you will never be able to identify. In accidents, there are bodies you will never be able to identify. Fire is perhaps the biggest single risk that you face in your operations, or among the biggest single risks that you face. Certainly in the Navy, sir, you would know. Could you tell us how this is part of what in the services can always happen? A situation where people, your friends, die and cannot be identified.
Thank you, Vishnu, for the question. A very tricky question, very complex question. I cannot give you a one-line answer for it. All I can say is that I hope the DNA testing works out and they are able to identify the bodies. Me being from the Navy, we have not really come across such battle situations. Probably Subrata or Rajiv should be in a position to answer this question better than me. Because in the Navy, there have been accidents, but I have never been a witness to any of the accidents. So it would be very wrong on my part to make a comment on how complex the problem is.
Yeah. Would General Saha, you want to take that question of mine? I think it's important that we talk about this.
Sure. You see, I think, Vishnu, to my mind, this lesson learned for the future. You know, just to give you a simple example, today technology allows us to do the, you know, I was telling you in the afternoon also, we used to identity disk tied to our wrist, and one was oval, one was round, one was meant for the organization to maintain records, the other was meant to go with the casualty, so that there was no mix-up. But today we have, you know, like service, go through this, for example, the dental inspection every year. If you were to keep that record, digitize it, I think we do not require even a procedure as long as the DNA. DNA, as we know, it takes, you know, a certain length of time. It's a very sure method of doing it, but it takes a certain length of time. And in situations like this, where, you know, the losses are what they are, the magnitude of the loss, and the seriousness of whatever is happening. So I think we must, this should be a lesson learned as we go into the future, to bring in means that are faster and quicker and smarter than what is, you know, than even the DNA testing.
Sure. Colonel Ashwini Sharma, you've known Brigadier Lider very well for many years, I'm told. He was an outstanding officer from all accounts, cleared for the rank of Major General. He was going to command a division of the Indian Army, probably the right-hand man, not probably, definitely the right-hand man of General Bipin Rawat. He leaves behind a 16-year-old child, a daughter, and his wife, a school teacher. Could you tell us a little bit about Brigadier Lider?
Yeah, so I met Lakhvinder Lider at the Indian Military Academy when he was doing the most glamorous job in the Indian Army. That's the adjutant of IMA, and I happened to be battalion commander over there. Cadets often look up to the adjutant for inspiration, and I think he fit the bill rather well. He had a very charming personality. He would sit upright, he would stand straight, and other than that, he was a very fine human being. So I think he set a rather good example for all the young cadets over there. He went on to command his battalion, and thereafter got another very sought after appointment, that of a defense attaché to Kazakhstan. I met him last year again here in Delhi when he had just finished with his NTC course and joined General Rawat. This was a tough ask. I think around this time last year he joined General Rawat, and the first time when I met him, he told me, he says, the working hours are from 7 to 9. So just as somebody else said that General Rawat would work about 18 hours a day, I think Lakhvinder Lider did the same, if not more.
Yeah.
A very competent officer, and he was due to take over division, as Rajyavardhan Rathore said in one of the visuals before this. It's just destiny. Other than that, of course, you spoke about his daughter Ashna. Just 2 weeks back, we were at the book launch ceremony of a book of poems that he just penned. Mrs. Kiran Bedi was there, and Mrs. Rawat was there. And it was such a nice evening. It was such a pleasure to be with this family, a very happy family, looking forward to good times, looking forward to happening times. And, you know, soon he would have been a GOC. And as always, Mrs. Rawat was there, and she was being her usual kind self, very humble, but very practical at the same time, and spoke to us about the activities, particularly the welfare activities that she is planning on, including CSR for the Jawans' wives across the board for all three services. And I think Mrs. Geetika Lider was also a big support to her, not directly, but an indirect role of being Lakhvinder Lider's wife. Very sad and a huge loss to the country.
Yeah, no, it is. General Narayanan, you know, a couple of things really struck me over the last 2 days, and I've been following this so closely. Firstly, this little girl, 16 years old, when her father's casket was brought to Parliament Delhi yesterday, she went up to the casket, smartly saluted that casket, because that is an identifier for her. That is what her father did. And today the daughters of General Bipin Rawat, they were stoic in the way they conducted themselves. I mean, it would have been heart-wrenching beyond words, but they went ahead with this. They were strong, and they realized that, you know, they had a certain role to play to fulfill a part of the legacy of the man. In both of these cases, extremely strong family members, children in this case. Would you like to talk a little bit about that, maybe?
Yeah, children follow the example of their parents. It is exactly as what they have seen their parents being stoic and straight in similar situations earlier. That's what children follow. Kids these days don't follow what is taught. They follow what they see. And full marks to the upbringing and grooming of these children, that they did what they did, because this is what they have seen their parents, colleagues, and everyone do in their life. We as soldiers, you never know when it is going to be your last day. That's part of life. You join in and you know about it. So you come across a number of situations like this in the station. And the kids follow exactly what, they are very observant these days. They follow exactly how their parents have behaved, in what manner the situations have been handled. And you see it in front of you. You see Ashna, you see Kritika, you see Tarini. What exemplary message they send across to the people, that whatever it be, of course, they will have their time of grief at home, in private, but in open, you have to show your strength to the nation. Like today, Bipin Rawat, look at the kind of popular sentiments which came out on the streets, and everybody was there. And they would have noticed, not just here, even when it was being beamed live at Palam, the manner in which they behaved, how correct and upright they were.
Yes. Yes.
Everybody is watching. So I full marks to them. That is how they have been groomed and trained, and that is what the uniformed service teaches you.
Yep. General Vishambar Singh, let's not forget about those very smart para-special forces commandos who were the personal security officers of General Rawat. They were all exceptional in free-fall combat, communications experts. One was a sniper, one was a demolition expert, and they were all extremely advanced in combat, armed and unarmed combat as well. They were all proficient in their own right in that. They were all winners of awards in that own right. We've been talking about officers, sir, but the Indian Army is bedrock, not officers but Jawans. And I think we need to talk about that. The importance of reaching out to the families of these Jawans, which the Army obviously already does. How is that part of the system, that the last man or the last woman, their family members, irrespective of rank, will be reached out to always?
See, Vishnu, in a tragedy like this, no doubt they were the best men of the Indian Army, because they were the personal security staff of the CDS. So their commitment to the duty and their caliber was never in question. Army has a very time-tested method whenever such tragedies happen. We have a colonel of the regiment, then we have the commanding officers, and then we have the hierarchy like command, corps. Everybody reaches out to them immediately. Their families are contacted. They are given the kind of support they need at that time to overcome the grief. The grief is huge. It can't be overcome suddenly, but there is a support system within the army where everybody reaches out to hold their hand. And the commanding officers of these boys who are there, the units they belong to, they are the first one to react. So there's a support system in terms of laid down SOPs. So everybody reaches out to them. The first priority is to console the children and the family, because their support system and the bread earner or the man is gone. So it is basically to overcome that grief initially, and then conduct the last rite the way they had served this country, with military honor and dignity, which is done always in case of the army. And then to give them the financial support to ensure their pensions start immediately, their children are looked after, their education is well taken care. So there's a support system. It is not immediate. I'm saying one time now. It is a time tested and continuous for lifelong. So the regimentation and the brotherhood, which we call it the extended army, the extended family, the army is lifetime. And these children, I assure you, even the man has gone, but their families will be looked after by the army, by the system, not only the government, the state government, central government, because they're all battle casualties. They actually died in the line of duty. So they're the battle casualty people. So they'll get financial support they deserve. The pensions will be quickly given to them, and their education, children's well-being will be looked after.
Sure.
So there should be no worries on that account in the minds of anybody anybody of this country. Absolutely.
Commodore Venugopal, tell us a little bit about General Bipin Rawat. You were a batchmate and classmate at the NDA. Tell us a little bit about your experiences there.
Well, as Subrata and Rajiv were both India squadron, I was from the Alpha squadron. And
you know, there's a little bit of squadron rivalry which has been happening on this program. It seeped in when General Saha started it. But anyhow, carry on, sir.
Well, you know, me and Bipin are from the number 1 battalion. Bipin being from the Charlie squadron and me from Alpha squadron. And as Subrata rightly pointed out, Charlie was quite notorious squadron, and we were very scared of going anywhere near Charlie squadron those days in the first 2 terms. That notwithstanding, talking about Bipin, we both were from the 53 that's what they call, you know, the 53rd course, number 3 classification in the social science stream, the non-tech stream. So Bipin was there amongst most of us all rogues. Bipin was one of those very straight and stable and disciplined guy who used to be, you know, actually a kind of a stable factor in the class when, you know, we used to create a whole lot of chaos and having the appointments coming in for a showdown kind. So Bipin was a stable factor. So, and always cut above the rest in, you know, in all aspects. Well disciplined, very meticulous, and super turnout. Those days, the turnout of cadets was one important factor. Bipin always maintained a very smart turnout. And if I look back now, I can always say that, you know, with pride, that he was one example of an officer and a gentleman.
Yeah. General Saha, you know, of what I've seen of General Bipin Rawat on the occasions, and I must confess there have not been that many out in the field. Over here in Delhi, one has seen a lot more of him. But whenever he's gone to a unit, I've often seen him just, you know, avoid, not avoid, but not necessarily go to the officers first. If he sees if he saw a Jawan, a soldier, he would often go up to him and just chat with him, say a few words. That was always his style of leadership, where the men under his command, I'm talking about enlisted men, they were always the priority, and they were the people he would like to converse with. That was his style of leadership, and, you know, I know all of you have had that in your own way, but that really defined him, you know, as a leader.
You know, Vishnu, General Bipin Rawat, to my mind, is an officer, a leader who has lived by the Indian Military Academy credo right from those young days till the very end, which is nation first, the men you command next, your own comfort, safety, whatever comes last always and every time. He has lived by that credo, and you very correctly pointed out, one is, of course, you know, reaching out and talking to the Jawans. The other is, you know, ensuring the welfare of the Jawans. If you see as the army chief, able to get in that cadre review for more vacancies for junior commissioned officers, more vacancies for non-commissioned officers, more vacancies in the honorary ranks. Today you ask people anywhere, you know, across the length. Little did I realize that we'll be here, you know, talking on this sad, solemn occasion of his final journey like this. Less than a month back, I was visiting my own unit and I was talking to people. The feedback that you had about General Bipin Rawat on what all he had done for the men under his command, I think is absolutely phenomenal. And in every interaction that we did, or whenever we looked particularly at personal matters, particularly at matters pertaining to the training of the subordinates, they were always the top priority for him. So, and the fact is, this is something which also spills over. Today, for example, if you see the way people came out on the streets here in Delhi, yesterday the way people came out on the streets in starting all the way from Kunur down to Metupalayam is a clear indication of, where his outreach was directed at.
Yeah.
So with the men, with JCOs and other ranks, as you said, he would go and reach out to them. I think for the others, he made the appeal by the way he spoke. You may have seen one of his, and he was always, what was in his mind was what he was speaking. He never minced, he never tried to sugarcoat anything. Yeah. I think in a particular gathering, when somebody said, regarding employment in the army, he was so categoric to say that, look, if you come to me looking for a job, excuse me, this is not the organization where you can come just looking for a job. You have to come here with a sense of commitment, etc., etc. And because he was what he was, of this very straightforward way of communicating with people, that's what made him so popular. And especially, with the subordinates, I think this is one quality that carries a person, to the ultimate pedestal of a good leader.
Yeah. Air Marshal Barbora, it's been such a fascinating conversation this evening. All of you have had a personal association with either General Rawat or Brigadier Lidder. I'm out of time, so just very briefly, sir, a question to you. He had started out on this path of reforming the armed forces to prevent the Army, Air Force, Navy from operating in silos. Lots of disagreements within the force, between the Air Force, Army, Navy, etc., etc. Be that as it may, how important is it, sir, for this process to continue irrespective of what the ultimate outcome may be?
Yep. Okay, so let me put it very clearly and simply for a clearer understanding, more so to the layman also. It is that we have to synergize our potentials of the three services when it comes to war and in peacetime as to how do we integrate ourselves, wherein we can bring in economy of effort and the potential of each service be utilized to its fullest extent. It's going to take a long time, by the way. Maybe two commands can be formed or two theatre commands. One is air defense, one is the maritime.
Yep.
But thereafter, there is a lot of thinking to be done. The nitpicking has to be done to be able to come to close to a solution,
yep,
which is being looked at by the government and us. It's not an easy task, and for that, please understand, the CDS, in my personal opinion, should be in rotation so that each service chief or senior officer come to understand the nuances of the sister services.
Right, right.
I'm not talking of which color of uniform should be at their top, but we have to understand the nuances of the other service and integrate it in a manner that we synergize the battlefield during a war.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking to us. And it is a very sad day. But let's hope that, the process of reform in the Indian Army continues. But let's also keep thinking about that one officer who's fighting for his life, and the Air Force officer, and indeed for the departed souls and their families. Thank you very much for being with us. Lots of comments have come in on coup. Rakesh Singh writes, the final salute to our brave soldiers and our Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat. Kunal Saini says, today the entire nation is crying for our brave hearts. We'll take a short break. Up after that, a few more details on the probe into the helicopter crash in which 13 or 14 people were killed.